Yeah. Analytics off the chain, all the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
What is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome to Week 6 here, fantasy football, and this show is super simple. It's going to take about 30 seconds for me just to say everybody is hurt right now. Like, everybody is hurt. We could probably, literally, Ethan, if we wanted to, like, go through all the teams, we could sit here for an hour and a half and talk about straight players who are not practicing, who are banged up. It's a laundry list. I'm pretty sure we missed some national holiday here yesterday on Thursday because nobody practiced hardly on Thursday. A lot of names to discuss, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you here for a second, and then I'm probably just going to sit here and just watch you talk for the next 25 minutes because the injury portion of this show could be a little bit lengthy. Luckily, though, hit the like button for some timestamps because the timestamps are down below. Because we're also going to do some show us your teams and some mailbag questions. So check out those timestamps if that's what you're looking for. But Ethan, can we start it off here with what we do every single week? We have a moment of silence, and this time we don't just have one name. We have two, and one that I know really affects you.
Yeah, Jake, this one's going to be tough for me. I really debated this week on just naming like the three players that aren't hurt.
Yeah,
and just saying everybody else is hurt, figure it out.
It could have been a lot easier to show.
That's not why you pay me the big bucks, Jake. So we're going to go through them all. But first, we do have 2 moments of silence.
Okay.
First up, this one hurts me bad, Jake. Juju Smith-Schuster has a dislocated shoulder. He had shoulder surgery. I got tearing up on Twitter. They posted something about him. He was crying, how upset he was. Typically, with a dislocated shoulder, we're talking about a labral tear of some sort. That's why he had surgery. He's out for 4 months. He is done for the year, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Is he done as a Steeler?
I'm not ready for that conversation, Jake.
Okay. Anyway, moment of silence for Juju. Next up.
Moment of silence for Juju. Next up, we got Maxx Williams. He had a knee injury. It looked pretty ugly, pretty bad. Probably
Knees
the worst
don't bend
injury.
that way normally.
Yeah, not supposed to go that way. Probably multi-ligament, but we don't know for sure. They haven't released the actual diagnosis, but they did say that he is ruled out for the rest of the season. Kind of a bummer for Maxx Williams. There's just so many tight ends that are not fantasy relevant, and he was starting to become maybe a guy that could potentially be trying to break out. Now he's done for the year. So those are your moment of silence.
Is it a sign that we had 2 moments of silence? One of them was from your team. One of them was from my team. It's kind of like the gods just hinting at us that maybe this isn't the greatest week for injuries, Ethan. Maybe a lot of people are affected by all these injuries, but now we already know there's a few guys that are already ruled out. Who are those guys?
Yeah, first up, we got Russell Wilson. He's dealing with a mallet finger. Okay, so this one is interesting. It's basically the ligament on the end of your finger. When it tears, your finger kind of gets stuck, like, the one, Jake, like this.
Like Captain Hook?
When your finger, the finger is stuck like that.
Just that finger,
like
right?
That, Jake. Like
okay,
that.
I just want to make sure it was this finger, right?
I got it. This one,
I got you.
Stuck. Okay, so it gets stuck like that. So you have surgery. Sometimes they can do it without surgery, but he opted to because he did have a finger fracture too. So he is splinted.
And practicing, right?
Some people are hitting me up, telling me that Russell Wilson is practicing, that there's a chance that he plays. Read into those types of reports. He's throwing footballs left-handed. He is not going to play. We're expecting him to miss about 6 weeks. Next up, guys that we have to get out of here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's dealing with an MCL sprain, sprains or tears in week 5. So he's expected to miss about a month here. Darrell Williams appears to be the next man up, but we'll see what happens with the Chiefs. They're always one to be looking for veterans to add to their squad. Quintez Cephus, he's the Lions wide receiver. He has a broken collarbone, going to IR, going to miss about 2 months. Not really super fantasy relevant, but for any Lions fans out there, I want to make sure that I talk about Cephus. Next up, we got George Kittle. This one was a bit of a surprise late last week. He's been dealing with this calf strain for about 3 weeks. And I said last week, the longer this thing just seems to meander along and cause him issues, the more likely it's going to get worse. and that he's going to miss significant time. Well, that's probably what happened during practice last week, because they expected him to play early in the week, and then they put him on IR before the game started. So he's going to miss 3 games. Here's to hoping that he's healthy when he comes off his IR stint. We see this too often with George Kittle. It's kind of just kind of disappointing, especially with somebody that talented. Next up here, we got Damien Williams. This one's probably the newest one because it just came out that he tested positive for COVID. So he has to have 2 negative tests, but he tested positive late in the week. Highly unlikely that we see him this week. He's already been ruled out on ESPN. They're not always the best to gauge if a player's in or out, but it does look like there's almost no chance that Damien Williams plays. Khalil Herbert going to get a chance to start here and at least work his way into potentially a committee. Remember, David Montgomery is still out with his own knee injury. So we're not going to see David Montgomery. Maybe Khalil Herbert can make something out of this backfield. And last up for get out of here, maybe the new spokesman, the poster boy for get out of here, John Gruden. We don't have any time or place to talk about what John Gruden did or said in those emails. Just know that here at the Fantasy Headliners, we don't endorse those types of things. Get out of here.
Wow. I mean, you looked directly into you made direct eye contact on that one, Ethan. That one scared me a little bit. All right, so now we have about 54 players, and it sounds like an exaggeration, but it's probably not that far off. We're going to go position by position here. Yeah, get yourself a drink because you're about to wrap it. This is the injury report version of Let It Flow. If you had a helmet handy, I would make you put it on right now. That's how close this is going to be. But let's go ahead and start off with the quarterbacks and be gentle with us, Ethan.
I'm going to do my best.
Okay.
First up, we got Joe Burrow. He's dealing with a throat contusion. He was taken to the hospital as precaution, but he is expected to play on Sunday. He's currently on voice rest, which means he's not allowed to talk to the media or really talk that much at all. We'll see if that affects how he calls plays, but it shouldn't. If he gets a full week of rest, he should be okay. We got Justin Fields up next. He was dealing with a knee hyperextension. This one looked really ugly on camera, but it turned out that everything was good on his MRI. He practiced in full on Thursday. I do expect him to play this week, but he might be a little limited in his rushing ability if that knee is still bothering him. Next, we have Daniel Jones. He's dealing with a concussion. He's going through concussion protocol.
He was severely
he didn't practice Wednesday. It's kind of a wishy-washy thing, but he did get a limited practice in with a non-contact jersey on Thursday. That's usually the normal recovery for somebody that returns in a week, but there's no way to know for sure if he's going to play.
He was like Joe Flacco level concussed. I mean, he stood up and he was a rumbling, bumbling, stumbling on the way back to the huddle. It did not look good whatsoever. So those are the ball throwers. How about the guys that they're throwing these said balls to, the wide receivers?
Yeah, first up, we got Allen Robinson. He's dealing with an ankle sprain. He hasn't practiced yet this week, which is kind of concerning. We need to see him practicing before Sunday, or he may end up as a late scratch. Just have a backup plan just in case Allen Robinson isn't able to play. Tyreek Hill is dealing with a quad contusion or sprain. Some people are reporting as a knee injury. It could all be the same thing. The quad does attach to the knee, so it's not like crazy to think that. He has not practiced yet this week. So the situation's pretty murky because there's not a whole lot of news coming out exactly what's going on with this. A lot of players not practicing this week. That's going to be a theme as we go through. Tyreek Hill did manage to play all the way through week 5, so there's a good chance that he manages to play. Justin Jefferson is dealing with an ankle sprain, also hasn't practiced this week, but he did say that he expects that he will play. I always take things with a grain of salt here because players always want to play. They always say they're ready. Doesn't mean that they're going to, but I kind of believe Jefferson in this case. This is probably just planned rest for him. Next up, we got pretty much the entire Giants wide receiver core.
Everybody.
It's not a good thing when Evan Ingram's really the only one that's like super healthy.
Wow.
Kenny Golladay is dealing with a hyperextended knee. He hasn't practiced yet this week. Doesn't look like he's going to play. The good news is that Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, both have been missing games with hamstring strains. They're both practicing in full. They should come back. Kadarius Toney had a bit of an ankle injury after he blew up last week, but he is also expected to play this week. So at least without Kenny Golladay, they'll have a few wide receivers to throw the ball to.
Good.
Next up, we got Julio Jones. He did manage to get back-to-back practice in this week so far. He could return to the field for the first time since week 3. Definitely a welcome sight for anybody that needs Julio in their lineups, but really for Ryan Tannehill, who has not produced, what we would expect from a Tannehill this season. So it does look like Julio is expected to return this week, but it is Julio Jones. So you never know. He's always going to be kind of a day-to-day, week-to-week type of player. So just be on the lookout for any news that might indicate that he might have had a setback. Next up here, we got Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel, we haven't really talked about him at all this year because he's been dealing with a groin injury for almost 3 months now. He is not looking likely to play. They're calling this week to week. I just wanted to drop him in here because I don't think it's worth having him on your rosters anymore. I don't expect him to really do a whole lot of anything this fantasy season. And he's droppable for me. Just wanted to let everybody know that if you're holding out hope, it doesn't look good.
Dude's like Will Fuller.
Samuel. Yeah, this isn't a good situation here. Last up for the wide receivers, we got DeAndre Hopkins. He's dealing with an illness. Not really a whole lot on this, just that he's dealing with this illness. It's Hopkins. He almost always finds a way to play. It could affect him, but for right now, I just don't know enough about it outside of the fact that he's sick.
And the sickness happens. Definitely something we'll pay attention to here as we head into the weekend. What about the running back position?
Yeah, so running backs here, we got Saquon Barkley, kind of the big news coming out of last week. He had an ankle sprain in week 5. He hasn't practiced yet, not likely to play. This was rated as a low ankle sprain, which is a little bit better than a high ankle sprain. Low ankle sprains can be taped up and supported a little bit better than a high ankle sprain. So again, I'm not expecting Saquon Barkley to be back this week or even really next week. But Devontae Booker should get the start for now, and I think he is startable in leagues where you're really hurting with injuries, especially. We got Dalvin Cook. He's dealing with an ankle sprain. He got all the way back in week 2. He didn't manage to get cleared for week 3, but then he did manage to get cleared for week 4. Only played 49% of the snaps. The team opted to sit him in week 5, but he did get a full practice in this week. So it is likely that we see him, but just remember that the team does have a week 7 bye. So they could pull the old switcheroo and pull him out to give him 2 more weeks of rest to really make sure that this goes to 100%, for the second half of the season.
Especially since Alexander Madison's been playing so well.
He's crushing it. Yeah. So they have, even though he's practicing in full, does not mean that he is a lock to play this week. Dalvin Cook, that is. Chris Carson's still dealing with this neck injury. He hasn't practiced yet this week. Doesn't look like he's going to play. Alex Collins hoping to get, another start here. He looked okay. Not a great performance last week as a spot starter, but you're going to get another start out of him. If you're still looking for running backs, he's a guy that you can plug into your lineup. CMC, he's been limited in practice, but not getting a ton of practice reps. The team already kind of admitted that they're going to be playing this really slow with CMC. I think he's a game time decision, probably not likely to play, but just kind of keep an eye on it. If he goes in, obviously you're putting him in your lineup. But if you have Chuba Hubbard, I'd be keeping an eye on him too, because if Christian McCaffrey doesn't play, Chuba put up a pretty solid week last week, 134 total yards. So definitely worth a start or a flex if you need a running back there. Damien Harris is dealing with a rib injury. He didn't play terrible in week 5, but he has been banged up for a while now. He was limited on Thursday. I expect him to play. It's just worth knowing that he isn't at 100%. Antonio Gibson revealed that the shin injury he's been dealing with, which we were kind of like, is this what exactly is going on here? Is actually a small stress fracture. So we are a little bit more concerned about it, just because if it gets worse, it could cause him to miss, a significant chunk of time. The best way to heal a stress fracture is by resting it. That's why he hasn't really been practicing that much. I'd expect that to continue, but he's still putting up fantasy numbers on Sundays, and that's all we care about. Joe Mixon was a very surprising return last week. He got a Saturday practice in. This almost never happens when a guy doesn't practice at all and then practices on Saturday. They were super limited with him. His day was kind of saved by a touchdown. Ish. I still don't think he put up, I'm going to say he was just at like 10 or 11 fantasy points. So not a great week and certainly not a full set of reps for Joe Mixon. The problem is that, again, he's probably a game time decision, and his backup, Samaje Perine, who did play well last week, tested positive for COVID. So he's not looking like he's going to play, which means that currently the starting projected running back for the Bengals is Chris Evans, and that's not good. Yikes. Yeah.
We need Joe Mixon because they got a great match. They're going up against the Lions this week.
I know.
This
Somebody's
is like
going to
smash play for Mixon if he can stay on the field.
I know. This is not good. I think he might because he did play last week, but man, I don't know. He didn't look very good at all. Chase Edmonds, he was limited last week by a shoulder injury. Did not look good at all last week. He was basically not playable. He's still limited with that shoulder injury. I'm probably sitting him in all the leagues that I have him in just because I just don't trust him right now. I don't think he's right. Something's up. James Conner, I guess, becomes more of a flex option.
Stealing touchdowns.
Because Chase Edmonds is not at 100%. Yeah.
What about tight ends, the football kind? Who are we watching out there?
Yeah, we got Travis Kelce. This one's not really. It's just worth knowing. Andy Reid mentioned that he had a stinger. Stingers can sometimes be a concern because we're talking about a neck injury typically. But Kelce isn't listed on the injury report anymore, so I don't think that this is really much of a concern, just worth knowing that he had it. And then we have Gronk, who, as expected, as I told you guys last week, I did not expect him to play on Thursday night. He's still not playing. He's going to have, some time here to recover. But he's still week to week with all the rib injuries that he's dealing with.
Yeah, and they got plenty of weapons there in Tampa Bay. They don't need to rush him back for any reason. So that's a lot of the guys that we have some updates on, but there's a few guys out there that you're telling me there's a chance, Ethan, and there's a few guys that maybe we haven't seen in a few weeks that we could see in week 6.
Yeah, we do have a few guys here that are possibly making returns first. Possibly.
Okay.
First up, we got Rashod Bateman. He has been on IR all year.
Yep.
With a groin strain / sports hernia. He had surgery to correct it. There is some hope that he will return this week. Sammy Watkins has a hamstring strain. I guess I have to say that. I think we all just assume that that's the case anymore with Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
I don't think Rashod Bateman is startable, but he is worth rostering now that it does look like he's going to make some type of return. The offense is scoring a ton of points. So having Rashod Bateman, if he becomes what they drafted him to be, it's could pay off in the second half of the season. This isn't typically an injury that severely limits their production when they come back. So Rashod Bateman's worth picking up, especially if you need wide receiver help. T.Y. Hilton, another guy that hasn't practiced all year. He's been dealing with a neck injury that he had surgery on. He said that he contemplated retirement. So that's pretty serious, but he managed to return to practice this week. He is eligible to return this week. I'm not really loving him as a fantasy option, but it is worth knowing that he is possibly coming back this week.
Okay.
Last up of these three, this is probably the only one that people are going to be considering putting into their starting lineups. That's Tua Tagovailoa. Broken ribs in week 2. He has been throwing at practice. Looks pretty good. He should make a return this week against a really bad Jags secondary. I'm expecting a good day for Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki, even though some of the other guys are a little banged up. Devontae Parker being probably the most concerning of those guys. But most people aren't starting Devontae Parker, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, exactly. Tua has that chance. Now it's hard because I think if Jacoby Brissett was 100% healthy, we're not really thinking about Tua because I don't think they need him traveling to London. It's just kind of like, let's just wait another week, but it is what it is. There's a good chance he could play. So those were all of the injuries. It was like 20 minutes of all things injuries. Ethan, go ahead and relax for a second. Get yourself a cold drink of water because now that the injuries are done, it's time to show us your teams. And we got some good ones. We got these things. Me and Ethan were talking before we started the show. This has turned into like a big deal because there are submissions after submissions every single week. And now the artwork, Ethan, is starting to get like next level artwork. People trying to one up everybody each and every week to try to get our attention. And it's kind of working a little bit because we got some good ones here. We're going to roll through them, try to go through them a little bit quicker so we can try to get more of these in on a weekly basis because the submissions are so crazy. Don't be deterred. If you haven't been selected yet, keep selecting, submitting. That's the word I'm looking for. Keep submitting them.
Submit.
Yes, submit them weekly because we're picking these every single week. So the first one we're going to go to here, Ethan, is by Vsan. And he's got Where's Waddle instead of Where's Waldo. But yet he's got Waldo holding up a picture of his roster. So the first thing I see here is, in my opinion, I think he drew the picture before writing the team name. And I say that because it's not centered. And I would think that if it was the name first, it would have been centered on the page.
Yeah, probably.
So I'm thinking that the first thing is the centering, the off-center team name, slight deduction from the point total, but not huge. His Waldo is a little bit scary. I feel like, I mean, he almost screams pedophile when looking at it.
He's creeping.
It is a little creepy.
Hard.
But, I mean, I knew exactly what it was as soon as I saw it, though. So, I mean, props for that. It says here, traded LaVisca and Crowder for T. Higgins. Okay, I don't hate that. But he's currently 2-3, and he's sad right now. He's got Russell Wilson as his quarterback, so that's obviously not a good thing. That's one reason to be sad. On his bench, does he have another quarterback, Ethan? Carson Wentz.
Oh, no.
I'm not loving Carson Wentz this week.
No.
I don't think they need to throw the ball a lot this week. I think they're going to get a lead and rely on Jonathan Taylor a little bit more, so Carson Wentz is not exactly ideal. As for your running backs, you got Zeke and Gaskin. Hopefully Gaskin can repeat from what we saw last week. And
didn't we talk about this last week, Jake, that you're not supposed to be trading him because he might be able to give you flexible weeks?
Yep.
And that you need that when we get into these bye weeks. Who said that, Jake? We said that.
We said that. We have not given up on Myles Gaskin. I had to have a slight talking to Brian Flores. Wasn't too in-depth, though, because he scares me.
Pretty scary guy.
He's a pretty scary dude. Wide receiver, Antonio Brown. So we already know he had himself a good Thursday night game. Calvin Ridley, T. Higgins, Dawson Knox really come on strong. Flex of Darrell Williams. On the bench, you got Allen Robinson, Mike Davis, which looks like mine Davis, Javonte Williams, Devontae Booker, Carson Wentz, and Jalen Waddle. You making any changes there?
No, not really. I mean, you've already probably started Antonio Brown. He gave you a touchdown already. I did get a report that he might have been injured, but I'm not watching the game because I'm writing all these injuries.
Yes.
So I haven't had a chance to see what happened. So maybe that one, at least he already scored a touchdown. I don't know. We'll see. Calvin Ridley might be another scratch. We don't know what's going on with him. It's a personal issue. That's why he didn't play last week. Is there still a personal issue? I do expect him to play, but I just keep an eye on that because we haven't gotten a full, he's playing yet. And so that concerns me a little bit. Everything else, though, it's pretty cut and dry. A lot of running backs on this team. I'm not loving all the wide receiver options you have. So I'd maybe be considering trading or trying to trade, make a second trade with one of these running backs and a receiver to upgrade one of your receiver slots. You have a lot of running back depth, and your receivers are not, the most trustworthy guys week in, week out. So just my personal opinion, I would probably be looking at potentially making another trade.
Way to go above and beyond there with your details, Ethan. Next up, we're going to Noah. And Noah's a longtime watcher of this channel, been a part of the community for a long time. The drawing really caught my eye here because in the top right-hand corner, it says, "Don't call it a comeback." And I love the font, by the way. The font, solid font. Looks like he's got somebody rapping into a microphone. I'm going to pretend that he's singing our intro song is what he's doing right now. You got the skyline in the background there. A lot of words. There's a lot of words.
So many words. I can't read all this.
I haven't read this much since high school. How did we get here? Down. He says he started the season 1-2 with a very weak bench and injuries. Traded CMC, Darren Waller, Mike Davis for James Robinson, Kyle Pitts, AJ Dillon, and AJ Green. Ooh.
I don't love that deal.
I don't love the deal.
I'm not loving it.
No, not loving it. Your team currently, though, is Mahomes. I like that. Obviously, you got Robinson and Hunt. Okay, McLaurin and Chase. Pitts. AJ Green is your flex weekly. Don't know if I love that because on the bench, you got Khalif Raymond, who you've already scratched out. Good job for paying attention to that. Darnell Mooney, Van Jefferson, Khalil Herbert. I would almost put Herbert in the flex as of right now that we know there's probably no Damien Williams.
Yeah.
And roll with that.
Yeah. There's this. I'm not loving it.
No.
Overall, I think the trade really hurt your upside. Obviously CMC is hurt right now, but we're expecting him to return this week or next week. Waller, he he's been kind of a disappointment. So if it was just like, hey, I traded Waller and Davis for Robinson and Pitts, and maybe you throw in I don't know, somebody else. I don't know. I don't think you won that trade, even though Robinson's playing well, Pitts is playing well. That seems like kind of a desperation move. But overall, I love the artwork. I don't think that's me in the hoodie, but you never know. Guy does look like he maybe has a beard. So
it could. What you're saying is that you're saying there's a chance that it could be you.
It could be a chance.
The question he has down here, if he was trying to get Tyler Higbee for his bench spot there for Kyle Pitts bye week. If he doesn't get him, who should he go after? Hopefully he went after Ertz because he's already found the end zone. If it's between Ricky Seals-Jones, David Njoku, or Donald Parham, all very boom or bust. Maybe I go Ricky Seals-Jones and cross my fingers, but I don't love it.
Wrong. You should have went Ertz because Dallas Goedert has COVID.
I just said that. But
so that's the correct answer. Even though you said it, you got to mention why that was the right answer.
I did say
Dallas Goedert wasn't going to play because he has COVID. But the correct answer of the other three is David Njoku, because we've seen David Njoku put up 31 fantasy points.
Fire him.
So
just cut him off.
It's David Njoku.
Whatever. You didn't even listen to me.
That's the answer.
Whatever. Moving on, because you're not listening to me anyway. Moving on.
You're not listening.
We're going to Clyde Reeves.
Whoa, this is scary.
Clyde Reeves Nawooks. Now,
Nawooks.
Nawooks. I feel like there is some anger in this drawing. Maybe it's part of the scribbles.
I think that's Alvin Kamara.
I'm pretty sure it's Alvin Kamara with the 41.
I think so.
Is it? I mean, I think it is.
Alvin Kamara is written in red.
I know.
On the bench.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a hit list. I don't know. I mean, it's scary. It's a scary handwriting. Like, I feel like there's just a lot of pent up frustration.
This is like serial killer stuff.
Yeah. But
what's up, Nahook?
Yeah.
Nawooks. Don't come
Clyde
to my
out
house
there
on the streets, okay?
He's out there writing mad, is what he's doing. So we got Jalen Hurts, who's already played here this week. Antonio Gibson, Josh Jacobs, okay. Adams and Cup, Lockett, Knox, Jacoby Myers. On the bench, you got Alvin Kamara, Chris Carson, Damien Harris, Alexander Madison, McKissick, and Beasley. I mean, I don't know if you can really make any trades or any changes from the bench to the starting lineup. You got Kamara, who's on a bye. You got Chris Carson, who's hurt. Damien Harris, who's hurt as well. Alexander Madison's really dependent on Dalvin Cook. J.D. McKissick isn't going to start over Josh Jacobs or Antonio Gibson. Plus, you already have Gibson in the game. And then Cole Beasley. Maybe I think about Beasley over Myers, but at this point, at least Myers is getting a little bit more consistent target volume. So I think we're kind of stuck with what we have right here. But the artwork is good because it's scribbled, but you can tell what it is.
Yeah, that actually is pretty impressive in terms of just overall artwork. At first, I wasn't for sure what was going on, but now I see that is pretty clearly Alvin Kamara. I probably would still put Damian Harrison over Jacoby Myers in the flex. Just personally, I don't think that Harris's injury is enough to keep me from flexing him. Obviously, the best play would be Alexander Madison if Dalvin Cook is hurt,
right,
and doesn't, they decide to sit him. But it doesn't look like that's what they're going to do. So overall, solid squad, probably playing the guys I would play. Pretty good drawing. This is high effort work here. Like,
it is. Even
though it does kind of look like one of those like horror movie, like little kid drawings that, they draw when they see demons and stuff.
Moving on. A dream got my attention because it's called Chubby the Puppy is the name of it. Chubby the Puppy came from a live stream, and we basically let the chat name our dog. So I have a dog named Chub. So but that's not all that really caught my attention here, Ethan. He has a Prize Picks collar on. He drew the logo for
that. Is adorable.
That is next level, and that's what got
almost
him.
As cute as the little heart.
Yes, it got him on the show. So way to go, A Dream. As for your team, a 10-team PPR has Tom Brady, Austin Eckler, and Nick Chubb. Love that. Keenan Allen, Jamar Chase, Mike Gesicki, Darrell Henderson. Looks like the Rams defense and Brandon McManus. Then we have Julio Jones, Gronk, Cordell Patterson, Allen Robinson, and the Cardinals defense on your bench. Well, I wouldn't hold two defenses. That's one thing. I would only hold one at a time, but out of the options you have on the bench compared to your lineup, I wouldn't make any changes.
Yeah, I mean, you could maybe consider Julio Jones for Keenan Allen, but I'm probably still not making that switch coming off the injury. Again, most likely to re-injury in the first 2 weeks he comes back. So, with everybody else kind of hurt or not playing well or on a bye, you're kind of stuck with what you got, and you're hoping you put up, a pretty solid week.
Yep. Next up, Motor City Jimmy, known as James McIntosh. And this dude literally submitted a picture in which he drew a bottle of lotion and yet put some lotion in his hand. And the team name is Gronk's Chubb. Kareem gave me herpes.
Gronk's Chubb Kareem gave me herpes.
Yep.
That is an excellent usage of multiple players. Hopefully he has them all.
Let's see here. Gronk is the first one.
Yes.
Yes, he's got it.
He's there.
Chubb,
yes.
Yes.
Chubb, yes.
Hunt, yes. And Herbert.
Yes.
He's got them all.
He's got them all.
He is well planned.
Yes, he's clearly somebody that takes a lot of pride and preparation.
What does it say there? Gronk's Chubb Kareem. And it says $1 from each sale helps
a Lions fan pay for counseling.
So he's even trolling the Lions in his picture. That's great. The official Chubb Kareem of Tater Miles and the Fantasy Headliners. James knows all about everything going on over here. The fact, though,
James, this is high quality work.
It is very high quality. The team is next level. Your team is obviously, look, you're 5-0. You're winning all your ball games. The team name is great. You actually squirted lotion in your hand for your picture. I mean, this is the full package right here. This is the full Monty, Ethan.
The full package.
Yeah.
Like another one of our sponsors.
Manscaped. Head over to manscaped.com after the show is over. Get yourself 20% off and free shipping using the promo code Headliners. Absolutely. But James, well done, my friend. Well done. Next one. Last one we're going to go through here. This is the Stephen Kent. And he's been a long time around this community as well. He actually just lost.
Stephen Kent.
Yeah, he actually lost a bet, and he included a picture with this. Now, you can kind of see in his little profile picture that he's got a fairly long beard. He just lost a bet and had to shave it completely off, and he looks like he's 12. I didn't include that because I didn't want people to be like, whoa, dude, yeah, it looks better without it, because he obviously misses his beard. But here is his team, Ethan, and he's got an A squad and a B squad. This is like, I got my good guys, I got my not so good guys. He's got arrows pointing to trade alerts. I mean, all kinds of things going on here. Pending transactions. Team name is Hoser Daddy. Okay. 10 team, full PPR from the 8 spot. Currently 3-2. What do the teams look like? Kyler, Chubb, Moss, Godwin, Mike Williams, Thomas James Hawkinson, A-Rob, Stafford, and the Browns. And then, his B squad is his bench. Mike Davis, Marvin Jones, Latavius Murray, Trey Y. Why did I draft you, Sermon? There you go. Samuel Darnold. So, yeah, everybody he's got on the bench. I don't make any changes here. As for the trade, though, Ethan, what are you thinking?
I'm not hating the trade. I'm just not loving the trade. I think I do like the idea of getting Antonio Gibson, Cortland Sutton. That's going to give you a lot more flexibility. If that guy's looking to trade those guys, he's probably going to have Kyler Murray to make that happen. I would probably consider it only because it looks like I would need to know who you're dropping, but it does look like this is, a one quarterback league, and in a one quarterback league, the quarterback I don't worry as much about, as much as having just lots of other players to fill in for bye weeks. So I don't know. I really like Kyler Murray. I'd be trying to maybe work this deal out with like Allen Robinson instead of Kyler, and seeing if you can't flip, Sam Darnold into Sutton or something like that. I don't know. I have a hard time giving up Kyler Murray because I do think that he is a week changer, even in one quarterback league.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me personally. I understand the reasoning behind it to get that added depth because I don't love having to start Zach Moss on a weekly basis for the most part. So Antonio Gibson would be an upgrade, but you got Ryan Tannehill who's been struggling, Antonio Gibson who is banged up and not 100%, Brandon Ayuk who's basically just a throw-in piece that isn't much value to you as of right this second. Cortland Sutton could be some added wide receiver depth, but you're already starting Godwin and Williams on a weekly basis, so it's not really a need. Personally, I think the best player in the deal is still Kyler Murray, and I'm probably hanging tight. But yes, that was show us your teams. Like I said, we love getting these submissions, so make sure when we tweet these out on Tuesday or Wednesday, make sure you keep submitting them because we're having a lot of fun doing that. But now it's time for me and Ethan to dip in the mailbag. And we got a couple questions here this week. Ethan, the first one about the teammate of Cortland Sutton, who we just talked about. This is from Kahaya. It says, Judy is coming back soon. What are your guys' opinions? Do I hold and be patient to try and trade him when he returns, or when the return hype is rising? So Jerry Jeudy coming off of an injury. It's kind of why I selected this, so I could actually get your opinion on it. Is this something where we have higher expectations for Jeudy's second half of the year? Are we going to hopefully, keep him on our roster? He has a good game. We try to flip him. What are we doing with Jerry Jeudy?
You have to hold him right now, just because he isn't back. There's no real timetable for him to come back yet. I know that they're saying that the biggest issue that I have with the 3-week IR rule is that everyone just assumes that everyone is going to come back in 3 weeks, and that's just not how it works. You still have players that get injured for 6 weeks that go on the 3-week IR.
Right.
He's dealing with a pretty significant high ankle sprain. I'm probably trying to flip him as soon as we know he is coming back, because we just rarely do we see a player return good value after a high ankle sprain. And it doesn't matter who the player is. Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, these are all players, we've just seen the studs. It affects everybody. So I'm probably trying to trade him as soon as he comes back, and we know for sure that that's happening. But for right now, you kind of just have to hold.
Yep, kind of stuck holding him. Dragon Knight Shadow. How does the coaching change for the Raiders impact the overall fantasy value of its players from this point on? And honestly, in my opinion, this is kind of an unknown, right? Because we really don't know how the players are going to react, what the new coaching scheme is going to look like. Do they kind of just adopt the same type of offense and get through the year? What really changes? I mean, we know that Derek Carr was pretty close with John Gruden. We know that Josh Jacobs was fairly close with John Gruden. One thing I can say, though, is I still believe that this offense has untapped potential. So I think there's still room for it to be better. Is it going to be is such a huge question, because lately, I mean, we've seen the inefficiencies of Josh Jacobs. Derek Carr has kind of struggled the past couple weeks. Can they kind of just open up the offense and just let him go at it? Because I think they have enough pieces to really contend weekly. I still think the likes of Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards are still underutilized, in my opinion, and maybe they can unlock those guys a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that there's a bit of a theme here with this Raiders offense, and that it hasn't looked great since Derek Carr got rolled up. And his ankle kind of got twisted in. He left for a little while, tried to come back, has been playing a little bit hurt, and you can kind of see it. He doesn't look like he looked in the first 3 weeks. Right. So, I think that his health is more dependent on the offense, bouncing back than any coaching scheme, really. We'll see what happens. I think we just have to kind of start over in terms of who is the value on this team. Maybe the next coordinator uses Henry Ruggs a little bit differently. Maybe Bryan Edwards gets a bump. Maybe we see even more of what they were doing before. Maybe they double down on kind of what they know. And so I would give it a week or two, but I think what we're going to find is there will be changes. I just don't know if they're going to be significant enough to make a judgment on right this second. Because I don't even know. Do we even know who the coach is yet?
They're using interim coach. I think his name is Rich Bisaccia. I don't know if I said his last name correct, but that's how it sounds, or what it looks like.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, we just don't know.
Yeah, a lot of unknowns there. Flow 1100 is trading for Barkley a good idea at the moment. I got a pretty good offer from the Barkley owner, I'm just not sure about it. So should people be out there right now actively trading for Saquon Barkley? Or are we just to the point now where it seems like every year is something and we should just let that ship sail and somebody else deal with it?
I don't mind trading for Barkley if you're getting a huge discount. It doesn't say what the trade was.
No.
And so I don't want to be like, yeah, definitely trade for Barkley, because I don't hit, Flow 1100's idea of like a great offer from the Barkley owner may be like Saquon Barkley straight up for Antonio Gibson. And that's not a great offer.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be an okay offer if they were both 100% healthy, but it's not, it's not what you're looking for right now. And so because we don't know what the offer is, I'm going to say I'm a little hesitant to trade for injured players in season. It sucks. I want Saquon Barkley to be healthy more than anybody, but we're not there yet. That doesn't mean don't send trade offers out, because it does look like it's a low ankle sprain. They are going to be able to tape it. It's not, they haven't put him on IR yet. Right. So, we know it potentially in the next 2 weeks, we could see him again. So I'm not going to rule out trading for him. I just need a little bit more info on what that trade looks like.
Right. Next up, Josh Warner, actually a member of the channel. I know that because he's got the little logo next to his name. So thank you, Josh, for becoming a member. Join button down below next to the subscribe button, by the way. He says, does Geno Smith affect Lockett enough to sit, especially in Pittsburgh? So in my opinion, Tyler Lockett was always somewhat boom or bust on a weekly basis, right? You're going to get 25, you're going to get 5 on a weekly basis. And that was with Russell Wilson.
Yes.
How does he get better with Geno Smith? I don't see it getting any better. I don't want to say it gets worse, because that big play potential is going to be there. And Geno didn't look bad. Geno didn't look like Russell Wilson, but I think he'll be serviceable for a couple weeks. But I think the overall ceiling of Lockett takes a hit, but the floor still sitting right around that 5 to 8 points a week. I think he's somebody that I can still start, but I'm not as high on. He's a little bit more of like a low-end wide receiver 2, a high-end wide receiver 3. Do I love the thought of him starting against Pittsburgh this week? Not exactly, but it all depends on what the other options are.
Yeah, the way I look at this is you're taking the ceiling and you're capping the ceiling of a Tyler Lockett. He's still going to boom occasionally, but it's probably not going to boom the way it boomed with Russell Wilson. Right. We're looking at a boom of like a wide receiver 2, whereas before his boom was, top 10. I mean, we're probably not going to see that type of boom. That doesn't mean he's not playable, but we're starting to work more into that wide receiver 3 range for me, and not a super reliable one at that. I'm probably looking to try to move Lockett, especially knowing just the timeline for Wilson is probably 6 weeks, right? Even though he's throwing passes left-handed in practice. So, maybe there's a chance he comes back and he throws left-handed. What do I know? That's not going to happen. But I'm probably trying to package Lockett, move up to a more reliable type of player at this point.
Perfect. Last one here we have is Seahawks fan. It says, I'm 1-4 in my league, but lead the league in points scored here. Is it time for me to hit the panic button and make a drastic trade, or see if things pan out? Not sure if there's anything I should change. It's a 10-man league. Honestly, you're leading the league in points scored. So that means that you had a good draft. You've had some bad luck here the first couple weeks. I'm not looking to blow up a team that's scoring that many points in just hopes that my luck changes. You've done everything you can. You're scoring the points. Personally, I just hang tight.
Yeah, I agree. This is the type of team that does make a comeback as long as you don't do something crazy. It is easy to look at your team's record and go, oh, this is not a good team.
Yep.
We're 1-4, clearly I need to make a move. I need to make something happen. But what I find is that typically in leagues that I've had in the past where I'm 1-4, 2-3, and I think, but I'm scoring a ton of points, but I'm just getting horrible luck. Everyone's bringing their best game of the year against me. Those are the leagues where when I made those kind of, I need to get a guy right now. Those are the leagues that I almost always end up not making a move.
Yep.
I would make moves like you're 4-1. And you're just trying to improve the overall performance of your team without giving up the core. You're just trying to improve on the margins a little bit. You're still looking and aggressively picking up players off the waiver wire and trying to package those players to make players happen. And I think this is, again, Jake, this comes down to something that Kane and I talk about a lot on our Patreon Dynasty show. If your league hasn't already, you should probably bring up a rule where the last playoff spot is not by record, but by points scored or potential points, whichever one you want to talk, to give players, fantasy players in this type of situation, more of a reason to like hold out hope that if they make it to the playoffs, they've scored the most points in the league, they still have a chance. Sometimes you just get horrible luck, man. Like you just run up against literally every team's best week for 6 weeks in a row. Yep. And you end up 1 and 5 or 2 and 4, and you don't make the playoffs with a really, really good team. And that's not really fair. So I do try to encourage, if you're not in leagues that reward points based on the, wins based on median, that you at least try to give a playoff spot to the most points scored that didn't make the playoff. Yep.
Absolutely. Love that idea. That's something that you can kind of take from this show, and maybe you can't add it in this year because it's already set in stone, but next year, just think about it. That's a great way to kind of make sure that you keep everybody invested too. Then, the last spot is the highest point total in the league. So definitely some great information there, but those were a butt ton of injuries. We did some show us your teams. We dipped in the mailbag. And now we're getting ready to head into the weekend. The only thing we got left here this week, we got the weekend tailgate show. So make sure you check into that. We got a delicious recipe this week, Ethan. I
love food.
Man, the tailgate. You're not gonna want to miss the tailgate episode here this week. Plus, on the tailgate episode later today, I'm giving away the winner. I'm announcing the winner of the autographed Aaron Jones jersey that I have right here. So make sure you turn into that as well. But you're not eligible, Ethan. I'm sorry. You just worked really hard on all those injuries, but you're not eligible to win it. Thank you, though, for all of your hard work. We appreciate you coming on here and discussing everybody's injuries in detail, because honestly, not a whole lot of us know what to do with so many names showing up on the injury report, so many Qs and the questionable tags in our lineups. But hopefully you have everything you need to be successful here this week. Do us a favor, though. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We got you covered all year long. Even when the season is over, we're still doing videos, so you'll find yourself plenty of content here to consume all year long. But for myself and the doc, hopefully you guys have a great week 6, and we'll talk to you later.
Need some motivation. Head to the channel for this headliner nation. I'm a headliner.